Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host, and I'd like to ask you, are you healed? Do you need healing? Do you want healing? What is healing? What would it do for you? What would it really do for you? I bet you have a lot of good answers for that. Because we'd like to fix a lot of things. We're always trying to fix things in our life. And maybe that's what healing is about. It's fixing things. And especially a lot has to do with our psyches, our health. And a lot of times we think of healing for healing our bodies and our minds and our feelings, etc. To help us understand this healing process better, I thought it'd be great to have a talk with a healer who I'm very friendly with. And he's been on the show many times. He's an expert EFT practitioner, and I thought he'd be a great guy to talk to about healing, whatever it is. Steve Gottlieb, welcome to Energy Stew.
Peter, thank you very much for having me on.
So I want to start off with this one statement that was made by Carolyn Mace years ago, and I heard her say it, and she said, if anybody ever tries to heal you, run away as fast as you can.
Wow.
The last thing your soul needs. And she doesn't list herself as a healer. She's a medical intuitive.
Yeah.
But what good is that if that helps you heal? And she's working against herself. But, you know, you and I both can do medical intuition, and we want to help people.
Yeah.
But maybe, according to her, we're not helping them. Maybe it's really harmful to help people. And maybe people need to help themselves. Maybe what it is that, as Carolyn Mace says, she really extols the dark night of our soul. So the idea is, how much do we want to learn from the dark night of our soul, or how much do we want a helping hand?
Wow. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned dark night of the soul, because I've heard that phrase used by several people in the last few years that I knew who are healers. And even at that level of their own awareness of their healing, you know, it may actually be that they're going through a personal crisis that they don't know how to heal, or they feel they have to suffer through it in order to heal. And I know one person who felt it was a dark night of the soul, and it was cancer, and they died. Some of us understand the dark night of the soul as we get to a point where we can no longer avoid understanding our shadow self, and the wounds that we've suffered in this life and maybe even other lifetimes are coming through in such a way that we have no choice to experience the feeling and the process of this deep level of healing and cleansing. But we do want to have a healing response through that suffering.
I know a number of people who have suffered so much in the early stages of their lives that they're really scarred very badly and keep bumping into their troubles in ways that are extremely painful. Some people have become suicidal, or at least threatened suicide. And certainly there are a lot of people who commit suicide. Now, where does healing fit into this? Can we save everybody? Can we save anybody? It's, you know, it really, what I think, the way I look at it is that we're born to suffer, because Buddha said that.
Some people take that to heart, and they don't also recognize that suffering is optional.
Right. So it's temporarily optional, because at some point we all suffer, because we live on a dense planet We have fragile bodies. We have fragile lives. We have families that there are older people who can't live as long as we do. Sometimes even the younger people can't live as long. And that's suffering. So we might be super healthy, super nice, have a wonderful life, and there's tragedy. So it's something that humans come here for. The human soul plans a life where they're going to have to overcome obstacles in order to grow. So we really are here to be in the dark night of our soul, because I think this planet represents that. I hate to say it, but it's a difficult planet, and we are trying to find the light. And so I think a lot of what our soul's purpose is to seek light, to try to fix things, to try to heal, to try to make things better, as just a soul growth path from one lifetime to another.
Yeah. You know, on the first website that I built for my healing work, I got the brilliant idea to have a subquote, and the subquote says, "Healing is a journey of the soul." Maybe I stole that from you, Peter.
Well, it's just the truth. That's all.
Yeah.
We are here to find the light, and to find the light might mean to utilize something called healing.
Yeah, right.
And maybe, as Carolyn May says, we should extol being in the dark night of our souls, but are we not allowed to find a flashlight, or, to do something to help us through it? And I remember a woman, a spiritual writer from over 100 years ago, wrote a book on healing. And she really believed that we all have to enter this dark night at some point in our lives, and we won't be able to find a flashlight.
Wow. Well, maybe it seems that way temporarily, and that's what represents the dark light, the dark night. As long as we feel somehow that we have the capacity to search for that flashlight, then there's hope. And then in the dark night, it's so extreme that it fools us into thinking that there is no hope for healing.
Well, what this writer, Annie Besant was her name, which she wrote beginning of the 20th century. She said that when we're in that dark night, the only thing we can do is remember that there's light. We might not be able to see it or find it other than in our memory of it. And that gives us hope.
Yeah. Yeah. But people lose hope. A, they don't know that. It's hard, or it's too hard for them to accept it. But the pain, the psychic pain that they're experiencing is bouncing all the wounds that they've experienced in this life. And it's really, really hard to move past that. And what is healing? So if you think about a wound, whether it be a psychological wound or an emotional wound or even a physical wound, what's the thing you're looking for? You're looking for wound healing.
Or answers, yeah. Some kind of answer to make the pain go away, which is the whole business of the medical world.
That's right. That's right. So we have that, but we have that as a metaphor. So when the doctor finds a way of helping you, who is it that is doing the healing? The doctor? Or is it the body that heals once the doctor has found an elixir to help the body organize itself into healing that naturally is our birthright? Or
the opposite, when the doctor tells you you only have 6 months left to live.
Exactly. Exactly. And the mind believes it, and so loses all hope.
For some people.
For some people.
Fortunately, there are people who are challenged by it and find answers. And
and then they find their own path to their healing.
Right. So there are many paths to healing, because you can heal on so many different levels. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're in this life for, is to fix things. And sometimes many of us have bodies to fix. Many of us have relationships to fix, or just personal growth to fix in many different ways. And that's what we need each other for. So I do believe in healing, because just love relationships are healing. Just being with people who care is healing. And sometimes people get sick. Let's say their souls bring them into illness in order for them to experience love at a deeper level and grow from that dramatically. Make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I mean, there's so many ways of talking about this. If you look at, for example, healing as discussed in A Course in Miracles, which I'm not an expert in, one of the great teachers of A Course in Miracles said, from a therapeutic standpoint, to be able to put your presence, your loving presence, in proximity with someone who needs healing, completely non-judgmental, and holding them in that love and that acceptance, is a healing.
Right. The presence of a loved one without opinion, unconditional love, is fantastic.
And that's kind of hard to find in this day and age.
Well, another thing that happens very often is that people want to help others in ways that they impose their interests, their maybe good knowledge or maybe very shallow knowledge on others that isn't necessarily an opportunity.
I think maybe that's what Carolyn Miss was suggesting, because thinking back to my early experiences, oh my God, I'm a healer. I've got to go out and heal, and everybody who's got a wound, I want to fix. It took me a while to realize that people have to come to you and ask for your help, and then you open yourself up to allow that healing process to flow from whatever channel is flowing through you, as opposed to going and attacking people and going, oh, let me heal you, let me heal you, let me heal you. And then Carolyn Miss recognizes that healing is an intrinsic function of our relationship with the divine. So if somebody's trying to heal you, run away, run away.
Right.
I get it.
Right. Many times I've been in situations where I could throw in my 2 cents, and I realized that it really isn't appropriate.
Yeah. I've had to learn to stay quiet, knowing that what I'm hearing from a person is full of trauma and full of wounds, that I know that I've got lots of tools that I can help them. And maybe if the time is right, I might be able to say, if you're interested, I have ways of being able to help you. But I've decided most of the time not even to do that unless it's appropriate, unless people are talking to me into the context that they know what I do. And that's why they're there.
It's interesting, because sometimes I wonder, because I really refrain from being aggressive to follow up on people and to, perhaps call myself an ambulance chaser. It really feels wrong to chase being a healer, and yet I'm so ready to help people when I'm asked, and will go out of my way, but somehow I have this feeling of divine order that if it's right for me to help people, that they'll figure it out and find my help.
There's a lot of wisdom that one accumulates to the point where we can see it that way, and fortunately, I believe that that works that way for me as well.
And another thing is that there are many people we can't help.
Yes, absolutely.
So there are people that we might try to help, There's so many people I've given all kinds of, I think, good advice to, and they don't follow up on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's fairly common.
It is, and some people want to hold on to their wounds because it serves them in some way. Who would they be without their story? And sometimes people feel the need to be healed, but the level of what they would have to accept and learn how to release through whatever healing techniques we might use or might come to them, they have to be in a place where they're really ready to allow that to happen. If you go and run out and try to heal somebody that's not ready to be healed, it's nice that you did that, but that person didn't really ask for it. Or even if they are asking for it, are they really willing and able to know enough about their own wound to be able to recognize it and just give it up?
Right.
Let it go.
Right. So it's frustrating, and I learned a long time ago not to be frustrated about it, and to have a philosophy that has to do with karma.
Mm-hmm.
That, because you hear about it all the time. There are people who are just on self-destructive paths, and you offer support. Or let's say I'm working with someone who's married to somebody who's very self-destructive.
Yeah.
And I say, well, let's see if we can help him or her. And they go, no, they don't want any help.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, going down the tubes. And I look at that and it's like, okay, that's their choice.
And maybe, but do you think that on some level that person is screaming for healing, screaming for the love and the attention and the unconditional support that maybe they never ever got as a young developing person?
I believe in divine orders. So I think if they are that desperate for it, the universe will guide them to it. And I think not every soul is here to be healed. So many souls, how many people do we know who've died without fulfillment and without resolution, and or any healing at all? And then you say, well, what good was this life if they never fulfill themselves? But their souls didn't come here for fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their souls came here. Let's just say that, souls in every lifetime have an opportunity to take some, 2 steps forward or maybe 1 step backward, which is still, a step forward. If we take steps backward in one life, we're going to take on a future life where we make up for it somehow, eventually, because I really believe that we're eternal souls that have an endless number of lifetimes. So it's not so critical from one life to another, even though this is the life we have now, so we make it the most critical. But it's only one of many. And it's really, I think, helpful to hold that so that we don't think that we have to solve every soul problem of ourselves in this one lifetime.
That sounds familiar. When I speak to a lot of people, their wound seems to speak through language that's similar to that because they don't understand that. And they actually cry out in emotional pain and say things like, I know I'm not doing what I meant to do here. I've got to get, all my healing done. I've got to be my greatest self. I've got to accomplish what I came to do here. And if I'm not doing that, then what good am I? Or I'm going to be miserable. Or the wound seems to say, I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing enough to heal.
All right, but that's their story. And
Right.
Everybody has a story. Every soul on this planet is a story, has a story, is a story, is fulfilling some kind of story that we might not understand at all, but their soul needs that story.
Yeah. So when I hear that, the only thing that I can do to offer that is possibly going to offer an opportunity for healing the psychological, emotional pain that that idea is causing them, is to try to speak in terms of what you're talking about the journey of the soul. And it may be, even though you feel that you're not doing what you need to be doing, and if you don't get it done, then everything is going to be painful for the rest of your life, to try to find some way of reshaping that idea so they can let go of having to feel it. It's their responsibility to solve that problem.
I understand, but that's a script that they're following.
Yeah, so we do rescripting work.
Right, that's true. So you and I, we're both healers, and we do want to help people the best that we can.
Yeah, because they're still in pain, even though they're holding on to that. If they can come from help, can we help them to rescript their story so that it's not as painful?
But maybe it's in their script to be rescripted.
Exactly, that's why they're there.
Yeah.
With us.
So, right. So, we're here to help people find their way through the morass of life, and help shine lights for them, and help them know themselves better, and be better at being themselves in body, mind, and spirit. We try to have a lot of answers for people. And so I think we have, the right attitude for what we're scripted for. It's only our script. And I know that so many people in this world don't have my script or understand my script at all. And to very many, many people, I'm really useless, because their reality doesn't understand my reality. And that's fine, because the people who my reality fits with are the people it's supposed to fit with.
Yeah, no, I do believe that by the time people find me, they have been somehow divinely guided to find me. That their higher selves are looking at where the soul is seeking healing, and they're connecting us up so that we can do this work at an intuitive level. So I just presume that we're being guided in this process, and it's meant to be.
Right. I've even had people dream about me who didn't even know me.
That's
and then
very
found
telling.
me out because
That's
they,
right.
they learned my name, and or intuitively.
That's intuition working through us.
Yeah, right. And
Oh.
so it's amazing how powerful this universe is, and all the more reason why we need to learn to trust every step of the way, no matter how awkward it feels. It's all in divine order.
Yeah. And I find that that's where a lot of people's psychic wounds are. And when we can help them to accept that the universe does have their back, then great healing comes from that.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I think the more that we can learn to trust the process and understand divine order, the more we get out of our own way. And then if the idea of healing comes up and we find somebody who we believe can help, there's nothing wrong with that at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's ideal.
Yeah.
And so I'm always grateful when people give me the opportunity to help in some way. But coming back to what we said earlier is that none of us as healers should feel that we're essential to the process of any one person, because their souls have needs that we might not fit at all.
Yeah, and they have free will, and they have choice, and the timing has to be right, and the matchup has to be correct. And if there wasn't need for healers, it wasn't needed for people being healed, and for us, we wouldn't be healers. We're designed to do what we're doing because there are people who need what we have to help them with.
We're designed to want to do it.
And that's part of it.
Yeah. It's wonderful when we can help move people forward and shine light. And I do that with the classes as well. I have students, and can do it in a different way in the classes, although some of them are strictly healing classes, and other classes, many of them are information classes. So, and that's where we met in my classes.
Yeah.
many years ago.
That's right.
So we're getting near the end of the show.
Wow.
Steve Gottlieb, what's your website?
Well, for this show, my website's going to be Stephen G, STEVENG, Healing, StephenGHealing.com.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's an easy one, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Or EmpowerYourTrueSelf.com.
That's another one, Empower Your True Self. You're very prolific.
Thanks for asking. I do talk about healing, and so it's worth just going there and reading a little bit about what I think healing is and how people can be helped by that, and see if it kind of resonates with people. They can always give me a call to discuss, what's going on with them, and I'm happy to give free consultations. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Steve Gottlieb, thanks so much for being on Energy.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Pete, always.
And this is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.fm. I can be reached at peter@heartriver, HEART river.org. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks so much for listening.